All right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. We have emerged from the closet of shame. There are less things in this office than I remember there being. So, got some echoes here, folks. Got some real echoes, but we're just going to deal with it because it's more comfortable in this setting, right? Either way, we'll deal with that. You'll get used to it here at some point. Might even be something that doesn't necessarily come across in the actual recording. I'm sure it does. I can't imagine there's a way that it doesn't. But either way, this is the college football episode of Unqualified Analysis. Today, we got an interesting week to go back and look at. There were a couple things that happened that I'm just totally blanking on right now. If I prepared a little bit more, I could give you a little bit better intro to tell you what's going on. But y'all probably watched the games this weekend, so no use in dilly-dallying. We got some stuff to get to. Starting off with a pretty major injury here for the number one team in the nation. Let's not dilly-dally any longer. Let's just get straight into the action, folks. And we got the number one team in the nation, the Georgia Bulldogs, going on the road and struggling against the Fighting Commies, the Vanderbilt Commodores. Ultimately end up winning by 3 scores, 37-20. They get the job done. Not noteworthy as far as the win-loss column is concerned. What is noteworthy is that maybe the best player in all of college football, Brock Bowers, I mean, the greatest tight end I've seen in a college uniform. Granted, I'm only 27. I didn't see the likes of a Jeremy Shockey or someone of that ilk. But as far as an all-around tight end, probably the greatest I've seen in a college uniform since I started watching college football. He is going to be out for, it seems like 4 to 6 weeks. He got that tightrope surgery. I believe it's either, tightrope makes it sound like an ankle surgery, so I thought it was a toe, maybe it's an ankle. Either way, he's going to be out for an extended period of time, and that is really that's not an injury that Georgia could afford right now, quite frankly. Now, they are 7-0, still the number one team in the nation as of right now, unless that's changed over the course of the last week or so. Might have changed given how well Michigan played, but for right now, still the number one team in the nation. If not number one, they can't have dropped past number 2, quite frankly. Not having Brock Bowers in there, you got to ask the question: who is the standout guy? And you had, I believe it's. All right, I need to go into the actual box score here just to get these names because I'm so bad with it. It is Daijun Edwards. I thought it might be Daijun Edwards. Daijun Edwards had a big time game as far as running the ball, 146 yards, 7.3 yards per carry. He stepped up big time, and if they can continue to have running back performances like they got out of Edwards in this game, maybe they can make up for a lack of Brock Bowers. But you just go down the list. I mean, Dominic Lovett stepped up in Brock Bowers' absence. Outside of that, though, I mean, Ladd McConkey's been there for, it feels like ages at this point. He's a guy out there, not necessarily the guy like you would expect from a Brock Bowers, but I mean, Ra Thomas, been more of a rotational guy, not necessarily like your number one receiver. They don't really have like a bona fide number one after Brock Bowers that you can just say, when all else goes to shit, Carson Beck just throw it up and pray pretty much. And Brock Bowers is going to come down with it a lot of times. You don't have that outside of Brock Bowers on this roster. This is going to affect Georgia big time, especially I believe they're going on the road this year to take on Tennessee. Neyland is no joke. The Tennessee defense this year is better than it was last year. Very good front seven. Granted, not the biggest test in the world against A&M, but they stoned A&M at the line of scrimmage, just absolutely shut them down on Saturday. That's another game we'll get to here in just a minute. But, I mean, they're facing the biggest, obviously the biggest challenges left on their schedule are still yet to come. And without Brock Bowers, I have a hard time seeing them get through that home stretch without at least one loss on the resume. They are going to struggle to score some points in some of these games. That defense is going to have to step up big time if they want to continue this undefeated streak that they are on. it's just another thing, that's just working against the SEC this year. I think we've all pretty much come to terms with the fact that they're not the best conference in America in the year of 2023. Does that mean anything about 2024? Certainly not. But for the year of 2023, not the best conference in America this year. Just got a little bit weaker with not having Brock Bowers in there, though. That's a major injury. It is damn near impossible to understate just how major of a loss Brock Bowers is for this Georgia offense. I am interested to see what Mike Bobo and the staff do over there to work around that. Probably going to see a little bit more a lean into the run game. Hell, even in this game alone, I mean, you saw 39 rushing attempts to 39 passing attempts, perfectly balanced there, as all things should be. Shout out to Thanos. Not really, though. He killed a lot of people, but I digress on that front. You may even see a heavier mix of the running game going forward. I mean, you could notice it in the stat line here. I mean, Carson Beck, after just ripping Kentucky to shreds, a defense that is maybe one of the best defenses in the SEC right now, Kentucky, going on the road, fighting the commies here, as all great Americans do historically. Going out there, I mean, 2 total touchdowns, 1 interception, less than 7 yards per passing attempt. And that you could feel the lack of Brock Bowers in the lineup here. It is going to be interesting to watch what they do going forward. I don't know if this necessarily leads to a loss right away for Georgia, but at some point here down the road, they're going to face up against one of these teams, and it's not going to be good. I'm interested to see how they respond. This is going to be Kirby Smart's toughest job thus far on this little 3-year run that they've been on, going into national title contention. Looking forward to seeing what they do, but hate that Brock Bowers is not in the game. He is, I mean, must-watch television every single time he is out there, and he's going to be sorely missed for the Georgia Bulldogs. As far as the Vanderbilt Commodores go, still not as good as Mississippi State, and I can put that feather in my cap that we are still not the worst team in the SEC, and I'll take that to the bank, folks. Just keep it moving from there. Michigan kicked the absolute dog shit out of Indiana and won me some money as well. I think Michigan's still undefeated against the spread, if I'm not mistaken, so take that for what it is. I didn't bet them on this show last week because 33 is a hell of a number on the spread. That's, I take a few more risks on my free time on my own hard-earned money with my own bets than I do on this show, and even so, even with taking less risks, I still end up being the most average gambler of all time on this show. Neither here nor there. 4-3 week, we're back to 500. We're just absolutely pounding the 500 mark right now. I think 15-15 on the season. So here we go. That's good to know. Either way, Michigan, just an absolute buzzsaw right now. This is still not one where we really learned anything. Indiana's a bad football team. Let's just call it how it is. They might be even worse than Mississippi State. Mississippi State is a bad football team. Make no mistake about it. So going into this game, we didn't learn much, but they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They just initially started out slow. Indiana actually had the lead after the first quarter, but you see in the second quarter, they started putting it on them. I mean, 21 in the second quarter alone. They scored double digits in every single quarter from then on. Starters didn't even play the fourth quarter. I mean, they end up winning 52-7. Hey, Michigan's just chugging along. I think it's Ohio State's got the big test this week with Penn State, but Michigan still haven't learned much about them. Still seem like they might be the best team in the Big Ten, though. There's not much to really talk about here, though, so we'll just keep it moving. I'm trying to not go an hour 40 minutes this time around, so got to keep this thing brisk. So Ohio State, again, same situation as Indiana. They beat the dog shit out of a team that they should beat the dog shit out of. Didn't look pretty. Ultimately, Kyle McCord did end up with 3 touchdowns in the day. Marvin Harrison over 100 yards receiving. But it wasn't exactly, just a picture-perfect day. They just kind of eventually ended up with 41 points on the day, which is good. 41-7 final score. You do what you're supposed to do against Purdue. Didn't look sexy, but the defense is good enough to where it doesn't have to look sexy this year. Really, Ohio State and Michigan, very similarly constructed teams this year. Kind of game manager or high-end game manager types of quarterbacks. Just really great teams around the quarterbacks. Good running game, good defense. That Michigan-Ohio State game might be a rock fight this year. And I think it's still last week of the regular season in rivalry week. That should be a dandy. But once again, didn't learn a damn thing about Ohio State in this game, so we're just gonna keep it moving. Florida State, another team, didn't really learn a whole lot about. I think Syracuse kind of played a little bit above their skis to start the year. I believe they've now lost 3 straight after starting 4-0. This time, Florida State just ran them off the field, 41-3 the final score. Jordan Travis, not his greatest game in the world, but got the job done. Keon Coleman, if he's not a first-round pick, I don't know who is, man. He is a absolute specimen on the football field. Maybe he won't be able to sun corners in the NFL like he does in college, but man, it is fun to watch him go up for some jump balls. And he is a big reason why Florida State is where they are right now. I mean, one of those transfer portal gems that they got really late in the cycle too. After spring ball, they got him after the mass exodus of Peyton Thorne and Keon Coleman from the Michigan State program after that spring practice. But really, really good player over there. What else is new? Again, if he's not a first round pick, I don't know who is, quite frankly. Man, we are just going through dog shit team after dog shit team. Penn State beat UMass 63-0. I'm not even going to spend 1 single second on this game more than I have to. Oregon versus Washington, the matchup of the week. The matchup I probably should have started on, but I'm too lazy and just kind of went down the list of ranked teams from highest ranked to lowest ranked. But we are here. The marquee matchup of the Pac-12 season thus far, with many more marquee matchups to go because it is just that loaded of a conference. Washington, takes them right down to the wire. Oregon had some interesting sort of decisions going for on 4th down. Dan Lanning, very aggressive head coach, had some 2-point conversions that didn't go their way. Going for it on 4th down at midfield, I think 4th and 3 it ended up being. They don't get it. They give Michael Penix the ball with ample time left, and then he hits, I can't remember who the guy down the sideline was. Maybe it was Roma Dunze down the sideline, but 2 absolutely clutch throws where he throws a dot on the sideline to get a 20-30 yard gain, then throws it to, I think, Adunze in the end zone. Maybe it was Polk down the sideline. Either way, they got just a stable of receivers out there for Washington. Penix goes down there, does what he is supposed to do. Adunze has a man's man catch to get that touchdown jump ball. They go up 36-33. I think Oregon actually drove it down there at the end. Hazy because we had people over this weekend. It's always hard to focus when you got people over, and also people that wanted to watch the Tennessee game. I get it because I've just blatantly gone out and watched Mississippi State instead of watching better games before. So I get it. It is annoying though. I get it, but it is annoying. Oh boy, what did I even do? Yeah, we're good. Missed field goal on the final possession. Credit to Bo Nix, got him right down the field and got him in field goal position. Just college kickers, man. What are you going to do? Oregon kicker misses it. Could have sent it to overtime. Who knows what happens when we get to overtime? Never will know, though, because Washington comes away with the win 36-33. And that final drive, that go-ahead drive, that 2-play drive for Michael Penix for the touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown there, that is the Heisman moment thus far for Michael Penix. And that right there is your Heisman leader 7 weeks into the season, for whatever that's worth. We're starting to get the picture kind of fleshed out a little bit more. I'm starting to talk about it a little bit more because it's about that time. We're getting, late October. Rolling into November. We're getting the big-time matchups of the season, specifically in the Pac-12. It's going to be a dandy down the stretch. This was the first of many, many really good games in the conference, and Washington showed that they were every bit of the buzzsaw that we expected them to be. Didn't blow out the Oregon Ducks, which I'm okay with that. Oregon is still... even with one loss, if they come out and they win the Pac-12, they just run the table from here on out. They still probably end up making the playoff. That's how good of a team they are. Washington, just with that home field advantage, it didn't matter. They came out there. They got all these receivers on offense. Penix distributes the ball marvelously to all of them. and they just come out and get a gutsy win. I mean, 22 of 37, 302, 4 touchdowns for Penix. The one interception, but you can understand that a little bit. Things happen here from time to time. And hey, it's not like Bo Nix had a bad game. I mean, 2 touchdowns, probably won a little bit more, but completed 3/4 of his passes, 33 for 44, 337. It still looks like a totally different player than what he did early in his college career. I think both offenses kind of acquitted themselves well. It's just, sometimes when you're an aggressive coach like Dan Lanning over there with the Oregon Ducks, you're going to have games like this where you have a few decisions that don't necessarily go your way. You're aggressive, but you're aggressive all the time. I respect sticking to your identity. That's part of what Oregon is. Sometimes on the first touchdown, it feels like every single time they just go for 2, almost no matter what it feels like. Now, regardless of the opponent or anything like that, they're an aggressive football team, and sometimes you get the opposite side of that aggression where it just doesn't work out for you. It could have very easily, they were a field goal away from tying this thing and sending it to overtime. I think both these teams acquitted themselves very well in this one, and I would be shocked if we did not see a rematch of these two. Shocked and frankly disappointed if we didn't see a rematch of these two teams later on in the season. They played an absolute dandy of a game in this one. Maybe the game of the season thus far, if you're talking about stakes in combination with quality. But again, and it can't be, I can't just breeze past it. This was absolutely a Heisman moment for Michael Penix right here. I think going in, or being at home, so not on the road, but going in here, all the expectations, all the eyes of the world on you. There's really not any... There's really not a matchup that could hold a candle to this one at the time slot, at that 3:30 time slot. The eyes of the college football world were on him, and Michael Penix was nothing short of spectacular with that spotlight on him. Kudos to him. Kudos to that entire Washington Huskies team. They bought themselves a little bit of breathing room. Still, with the quality of the Pac-12 this year, every opportunity for them to lose a game down the stretch, but this was a big step in the right direction for them. Washington Huskies, you may see them on my bets again this week. We'll see. I've been a little bit too lazy to go through and pick out bets so far, but that'll be a task for tomorrow on my off day. So we'll get there when we get there. For right now, Washington absolutely legit. Had no illusions to the contrary, but they proved it in this game. They are an absolutely legit football team, and Oregon proved the exact same thing. Like I said, would be shocked if we did not get shocked and disappointed if we did not get a rematch of this game in the Pac-12 title. We'll get there when we get there, though. Staying in the Pac-12, USC got ran off the football field in Notre Dame, man. I mean, 48-20, they end up losing. And you hear that 48-20, you think, oh, yeah, the USC defense just came out here and laid another egg. Not the case, actually. I mean, Sam Hartman, Caleb Williams led the, sounds like I'm bouncing around here, but I'll get back to it. Caleb Williams led the game in passing yards with 199. That should tell you right off the bat, Sam Hartman threw for less. And Audric Estime, yes, he ran for 95 yards on 22 carries, though. He's averaging like 7 yards a carry this year. A lot of it was just the USC defense playing well, quite frankly. USC defense, not really a bad game for them overall. It's just they just kept getting put in terrible positions by the offense. Caleb Williams, 3 interceptions in this game. I think first 3 interception game of his college career. There's a video of him behind the podium listening to Lincoln Riley after the game, and you can glean from that what you will. I don't know if it necessarily means anything other than he was upset after the game, but body language was not good. He looked a little bit pissed off. Really, that whole USC team, maybe a little bit of a paper tiger coming into the season. I think everyone kind of figured that as the season went on, though. And, man, I mean, 2.8 yards per carry, 5.4 yards per passing attempt for USC. And this is the downside of having a defense that, albeit they did play well in this one, but this is the downside of having a defense you can't always trust. All it takes is one bad offensive day, and you're getting blown out by 4 touchdowns. That being said, and I can't stress this enough in the context of USC, the reason they lost was not necessarily the defense in this one. The defense played okay, which is better than they played basically all season. But the big reason is that they lost the turnover battle 5-0. Like, you're not going to win a whole lot of games when you lose the turnover battle 5-0. Credit to Notre Dame's defense for playing well at home, bouncing back after that rough stretch that they've been on. That absolute gauntlet of a stretch, 4 straight ranked matchups. And it's not really done being difficult just yet. I mean, they won this one, but my God, you look down the road, you got Pitt this next week, which got them at home, which is good. You don't want to face Pitt on the road. They are a dangerous football team. Even with how bad they are this year, if they catch you sleeping, they'll get you. So staying away from that bet exclusively because Pat Narduzzi can piss in your Cheerios from time to time. But, I mean, they got Clemson still left on the schedule. And outside of that, seems like 3 relative cupcakes compared to what they've been through already this year. But, man, the gauntlet they went through to bounce back the way they did, and hopefully they kind of coast into the end of the season here with the exception of Clemson. Credit to them for bouncing back in a big way. But USC, man, Lincoln Riley in particular, what more do you need to see from Alex Grinch to go in a different direction? I think it's a fait accompli at this point that it's going to have, I don't even know what I was trying to say there. What I really am trying to say is that they're going to go in a different direction. It feels like this is the end of the line for Alex Grinch on Lincoln Riley's coaching staff. Now, it should have been the end of the line for him for several years now, but after this game, after the way they came out and just laid an egg and, continue to lay eggs on defense, and it will, again, I keep harping on the USC defense. They weren't exactly the problem in this one. They didn't necessarily help with finding solutions, though. And, man, again, what more do you need to see from Alex Grinch to go in a different direction? I think it's in the best interest of Lincoln Riley, quite frankly, to go out there and put out a defense on the field because, my God, he's maybe the greatest offensive play caller in the entire country right now, and he's been that for years and years and years at this point, going back to Oklahoma. If he just had a defense that was worth a damn in some of these seasons, maybe it's a different story. Maybe he is in the national title game once or twice playing for the national championship. You're just never going to get there with a subpar defense, and I don't think you're going to improve on defense till you change up the message that's going into the room, and that starts with Alex Grinch, unfortunately. Who's to say though? Maybe he has an impassioned plea to his old lover Lincoln Riley somehow stays on the staff, but kind of similar to the Mike Tomlin situation with Matt Canada. At some point, this guy's going to run you out of a job, and obviously USC better than they've been in years, really better than they've been since they had Pete Carroll in town, quite frankly, with Lincoln Riley there. So he's bought himself some cushion already, even after year 2. But eventually, this is going to catch up with you. And if we're talking legacy, this is going to mar your legacy not having won a national title, because you will not win a national title with Alex Grinch as your defensive coordinator unless you've got like 5 or 6 first-round picks that you decide to get on the field. And even then, who's to say that they even have a great defense? Maybe it's just an above-average defense that you got there. But, man, it feels like they need a fresh face in the room. I'm not breaking news there. I think that's kind of been the case for a while. I think it's just probably about time that Lincoln Riley maybe is realizing that what fans have known for a little bit of time now. What happens from here? We'll see. I think USC still has a solid team, still got a solid chance to piss in some Cheerios down the stretch, but I think they are clearly a rung below, almost said Georgia, different conference, Oregon and Washington in this conference in the Pac-12. But let's keep it moving. We got a lot of teams to get to. Arkansas, comes back late in the second half. Really seemed like Alabama was going to run away with this thing, but credit to Arkansas for sticking with it. Didn't quite get the job done, but making an interesting one. Alabama sneaks away with a win, 24-21. Jalen Milroe, I mean, not the greatest game in the world, but didn't turn the ball over. That's really all you can ask for. I mean, 10-21 through the air, not awesome, but no turnovers. You'll live with that. Really, it's just bombs downfield all day for Jalen Milroe, and that's kind of the offense right now. They seem to be rounding into form a little bit more, but this Alabama team is going to run away from no one this year. Absolutely no one. It's just not how they're built. I need a drink of coffee real quick. Hold on. I was maybe the most tired person in all of mankind earlier today when I went into work. So I had a Red Bull at lunch. I am getting a coffee now, and we're getting juiced, boy, because I gotta watch some NFL football, as Roger Goodell would say. Monday Night Football, as the casual person would say. Either way, what was I talking about? Alabama. I think we kind of know who Alabama is at this point in the season, right? And I think they continue to improve on what they are, but it doesn't change the identity of what they are. It's kind of, it's not exactly what I thought they might be coming into the year. It's a little bit of a downgraded version of what I thought they might be coming into the year. But they play behind their defense, which seems to always play well, and they try to run the ball, take deep shots when they get the opportunity, and they just try to push the ball down the field as much as possible, get big plays. They seem to improve every single week. And after that loss to Texas, they've won every single game since then. It's just a matter of continuing to improve. Alabama, especially with the injury to Brock Bowers, they still might be the cream of the crop in the SEC this year. Feels like they're still going to win the West. Got a big game against LSU that they still have to win, which might be the sticking point for them, might be what it ends up getting LSU into the SEC title game. But for right now, what we're seeing from Alabama, with the way Georgia has played on offense, with the way that, Brock Bowers affects that entire team and not having him on the field, I think still probably going to have him for the SEC title game if they do end up getting that far. But for right now, Alabama, would not shock me at all if they end up, running the table from here on out, winning the conference and getting a playoff berth when it's all said and done. Would not shock me even in the slightest. This one, though, man, Arkansas, that's just unfortunate. they just have a sad sort of team. I would say kind of the opposite of Mississippi State, but even their defense is bad at Arkansas. Sam Pittman had a great season a couple years ago with KJ Jefferson initially, and it's just kind of gone downhill since then. Can't field a defense. The offense is inconsistent at best. They averaged less than 3 yards a carry in this game. KJ Jefferson looking like a shell of his former self. I'm really, really missing Kendall Briles out there as the offensive coordinator. Turns out very good play caller. Who would have thunk it? Not having him around, KJ Jefferson looks like less than what he once was. The offensive line's not great over there. It's just a mess from top to bottom. It's just a mess over there with the Arkansas Razorbacks. Sam Pittman might be the name on the chopping block, unfortunately for him. Love the big old man over there, but it has not been good over the last couple of years. And Arkansas, fair or not, has an expectation of being better than they currently are right now. And I get it. It's on the road versus Alabama. You don't expect to be in this game in the first place, but fact of the matter is, yes, SEC did them no favors. 4 straight road games. They're finally coming home against Mississippi State next week. But 2-5, just simply not going to cut it when it's all said and done. Gutsy win for Alabama, I suppose. Kind of got more interesting than it probably should have been down the stretch. But Arkansas just searching for answers right now. Just searching for answers. Let's keep it moving, though. Keep it on moving. Miami looked like they might get absolutely run out of the stadium. They just end up losing, though, to North Carolina 41-31. Drake May has a big game. Omarion Hampton, just short of 200 yards in this game on the ground. Hey, you heard of this guy named Tez Walker? You may remember him from a little saga he had with the NCAA. Who remembers that, though? Who remembers exactly what he was doing over there? what the NCAA was doing to him more accurately. But in this game, really, pretty much the reason why they won it. 132 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day. That was big time for Devontae Walker. Tez, as someone call him. Just a big time game overall. Big time game from Drake May. I mean, great day for the offense. Hell, the UNC defense, I mean, maybe not a top-end defense in the country, but right now, I mean, they're playing better than just about any defense that Mac Brown has ever had since being at UNC, and they got a better quarterback than he's ever had at UNC. This Tar Heels team right now, they're 6-0, just beat Miami, their first big test on the year. They could very realistically, they don't play Florida State down the stretch. They could very realistically win out, probably should win out and be in the ACC championship with a shot at the title, really a shot at the playoff more than anything else. I mean, UNC starting to really emerge as a big-time competitor for the national title this year. I mean, look at that team. What don't they have on offense? I mean, they've got a great quarterback, a great number one wide receiver now that Tez Walker is back in the fold, a great running back with Omarion Hampton, a defense, and with all that on offense too, the defense just has to be either average or above average, and they've played that way all season pretty much. I mean, UNC, I think after the first week or so, we thought Florida State was going to run away with this conference. UNC is just hanging there in their hip pocket. They're number 10 in the country now after this win. They're just, moseying along. At some point, it feels like those two forces will meet each other. And whatever happens, I'm not sure who's going to win, quite frankly. I think North Carolina might be every bit as good as Florida State this year. I mean, you just, again, go down the list. I mean, they got the number one wide receiver. They got probably a better running back than what Florida State could field out there. Drake May, I mean, certainly if you're talking to the NFL guys, a better prospect than what Jordan Travis has been. I would still say even maybe even a better player. Comparable defenses overall. I mean, would not be shocked at all if North Carolina gets to the ACC championship, ends up winning this thing, going to the playoffs. They are a really good team this year. And like a lot of these teams, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do down the stretch. They got a lot of ample opportunities to trip up, but feels like they've gotten through the teeth of their schedule right now. I mean, they face Virginia next week, then Campbell, Duke, and Clemson back-to-back weeks. Those are going to be the big sticking points for them. They got Duke at home, then they're on the road at that rinky-dink-ass Death Valley in Clemson over there in South Carolina. That'll tell the tale of their season, though, if they're going to be playoff contenders. If they beat Duke and they beat Clemson, and then they can close it out at NC State to end off the year in that rivalry game, man, it is going to be hard to keep the Tar Heels from winning the ACC championship. I mean, Florida State is, like I said, every bit as good, but you go 12-0 in this schedule and then go into that ACC title game, man. This North Carolina team, don't be surprised if they are right in the thick of it in the playoff discussion at the end of the year. Would not be shocked at all. This is a rather convenient type of year to have the year before the 12-team playoff goes into effect. But man, on the other side, Miami kind of coming back down to earth a little bit. I think they're kind of a year ahead of schedule as far as what their ranking was at this point. I mean, yes, this is probably the last year you're going to have Tyler Van Dyke on the team. He's probably going to go to the NFL draft after this season. Though, I mean, with the NIL opportunities and, I mean, the absolute strength of this draft coming up at the QB position, he's way down the list of quarterbacks that are at the top of the draft. I mean, he's still right near the top of the draft as far as quarterbacks are concerned. But with how strong the draft is, he is, I mean, more down the list than he would probably be in 2024 if he stayed around and just came out of for the draft in that year. I think he's still got eligibility. I could be wrong on that, but probably still a year ahead of schedule for the Miami Hurricanes. One more season to kind of get Mario Cristobal's guys in there. And I think next year you're going to be seeing a really, really good Miami Hurricanes team. Yes, they're going to be breaking in a new quarterback, but That team, year 3, always say, I mean, give a head coach 3 years to put together the program in his image, get all of his guys in there. Recruiting-wise, I think Miami's going to have a really good team next year, but this year, kind of coming back down to earth a little bit more. They're feisty. They're just a cut below that top tier of North Carolina and Florida State. Louisville, I think they're probably on kind of a similar level with. I mean, Louisville got embarrassed this past week versus Pitt. We'll get to that in just a second as well. But, yeah, just a year ahead of schedule for Miami. I'm not overreacting to this too much. I think Mario Cristobal's building a good program over there with Miami. They just ran into an absolute juggernaut with the North Carolina Tar Heels. And I am, again, very intrigued to see how this ACC race goes down the stretch. It's a little bit less interesting and dramatic with Louisville losing, but still an interesting race to watch nonetheless. But let's talk about Louisville, shall we? They lost to Pitt on the road 38-21, a 3-score game even, after they go out and they beat Notre Dame on their own home field last week. Just lay an egg versus Pittsburgh this week. Pat Narduzzi coming off a bye. I mean, say what you will about the guy. He is a solid head coach, really good at scheming things up and getting his players ready to play when he needs them to. Not a good Pittsburgh team, but they're good enough. I mean, every given year they got Pat Narduzzi in the building, they are good enough to piss in some Cheerios. And I'm kind of glad that Louisville lost now because we don't have to delude ourselves into maybe putting them in a playoff discussion. They're not a playoff team. Jeff Brom, I love what he's doing over there with Louisville. I love what he was doing back when he was at Purdue, quite frankly. He made Purdue better than they had any right being. But with Louisville, love what he's doing there in year 1, but it is year 1. They faced an absolute cupcake schedule up until Notre Dame this season, and now you're seeing they're kind of coming back down to the pack a little bit as the season has gone. Well, really just this past week, now they're facing really the teeth of their schedule right now. If I'm not mistaken, they face a couple good teams down the stretch. I mean, yeah, they face Duke at home next week. They got at Miami later in the year. Then they're facing off against Kentucky in the final week of the season. They could very easily end up being 8-4 after that schedule, which is not. It's definitely not a bad start for Jeff Brom in year 1. It's just, let's calm down the hype a little bit. I think people kind of saw a little bit more of who Louisville was. I think, they're not quite losing by 3 scores to Pitt bad every single week, but they're not in that upper echelon of the playoff discussion, and I don't think we don't really need to waste a whole lot of time on that discussion any longer. I'm interested to see what Jeff Brom does going forward, though, because I think he is really one of the best head coaches in the entire college football right now. And if he continues to have this trajectory at Louisville going forward, would not be shocked if he parlayed it into an even better job down the road. That's going to be something to watch as the years go on here. I'm really thinking like 2 or 3 years in the future, though. But for right now, Louisville just kind of falling back down to earth. Pitt, good on them, good win. Hopefully you're better next year or something like that. But, good win for you this year, this time around. Let's keep it moving. Out in the Pac-12, ranked matchup here between 18 UCLA and 15 Oregon State. Oregon State comes out there, gets a big-time win, 36-24. DJ Uiagalelei had 266 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, no interceptions, did all you could ask of him. Carson Steele had himself a good game, and in that Chip Kelly running scheme, kind of figured Carson Steele was going to have a big year, and he's having a big year thus far, especially with having Dante Moore, true freshman, at quarterback there for him. But this was kind of, I just mentioned it right there, this was kind of Dante Moore. You saw it against Utah earlier this year. You saw it again here with Oregon State. Just looked like a freshman quarterback making freshman mistakes. These are lumps you got to take. These are the lumps you just got to take, quite frankly. You can't avoid them. If you avoid them, you're skipping steps in the process, and eventually it'll come back to bite you in the ass later down the road. I mean, Dante Moore, 14 of 33, 165 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions on the day. Sometimes there will be days like this, man. It is what it is sometimes, and you can't really control it. These are lumps you got to take. Like I said, it's just something you got to go through. Dante Moore, there's a reason he was a 5-star coming out of high school. It's just he's a freshman, true freshman, playing probably before he was absolutely ready to play, but hey, making these mistakes now is going to pay dividends next year and the year after that when he's still going to be the incumbent starter. And it's going to pay dividends even down the road whenever he eventually goes to the NFL. He's got that experience under his belt. I mean, by the time, assuming that he stays healthy, which I mean, knock on wood, hopefully he stays healthy. Don't want to see any of these kids getting injured. But assuming he stays healthy, he's going to be starting at least like 37, 38 games or something like that in his college career, probably pushing 40 by the time he goes to the NFL. I mean, he's going to be just ripe for the picking as far as a possible first-round pick is concerned down the road. So again, these are lumps you got to take. UCLA, it's a transitional year, transition into a new starting quarterback. Probably the most talented quarterback that Chip Kelly has had since probably Marcus Mariota in there. I mean, no disrespect to DTR. He was a very, very good quarterback, but Dante Moore is just a cut above him even as a prospect here. So it sucks for UCLA. This was kind of a really good defense they got over there too this year. This is just kind of, it's the year before the year, which is the year before that year, if that even makes any sense. Hope it does. Probably doesn't. This is gonna happen sometimes, man. I'm gonna stop talking in circles before I make this an hour and 40-minute long episode. But on the Oregon State side, hand up, I was even guilty after they lost to Washington State of kind of writing them off here, but hey, Oregon State just sneaking up here. They're 6-1 now. They get a good win versus UCLA. The offense is playing well. The defense is, played well in this game. Got absolutely torched versus Washington State. Played well in this game. And frankly, they play a conducive style to helping out your defense a little bit more. I mean, they run the hell out of the ball. They are decisive with the passing game. Jonathan Smith has got the boys playing over there. And hey, 6-1, they're just chugging along. They could piss in some wholesale Cheerios down the road, quite frankly. Obviously, they still have Oregon on the schedule. That's not going to change. I mean, Arizona, you got to watch it. Arizona has been, you want to talk about pissing in Cheerios, they have been pissing in wholesale Cheerios here recently. I mean, talk about Washington State. They blew them out of the water this past week, which I'm sure we'll get to here in just a minute. But sticking with Oregon State for a second, I mean, they've still got both Washington and Oregon in back-to-back weeks to end the year. And I would not be shocked at all if they won one or both of those games, quite frankly. Their season is not over, and their Pac-12 title hopes are not extinguished just yet, especially with the team that had the tiebreaker over them head-to-head, Washington State, kind of falling by the wayside now. Oregon State, I mean, they're still in that tier with probably USC. Utah's probably in there too, depending if Cam Rising ever comes back. They're just hanging around. They're just right back there, hanging in the hip pocket, waiting for their opportunity to get back on that big stage. They have an opportunity at least against Colorado here in a couple weeks. The Deion effect. People are going to be watching that game. If they go into Colorado and just beat the brakes off them, people might be starting to turn a little bit more attention to Oregon State here. They are not done by any stretch of the imagination. They could still, they've got everything in front of them right now. I mean, even with one loss, the Pac-12 is quality enough to where a one-loss Pac-12 team, Pac-12 champion that is, still probably making the playoff when it's all said and done. So everything they can want is out in front of them for the taking right now. It's just a matter of going out and taking it from here going forward. That's another team. I mean, this Pac-12 home stretch is going to be torrid to say the least. This is just one of those teams that could be making some waves down the line. Don't be shocked if Oregon State goes out there and gets some wins that people don't necessarily expect. Moving on down the list here, though, Utah still 5-1 on the year. They get the win against California, 34-14. I still don't believe. Cam Rising didn't play in this one. Bryson Barnes played, not exceptional, not great, but does what he was asked to do, goes out there, Throws 15 for 21, doesn't turn the ball over. That's really all you can ask for a guy who's not Cam Rising in this offense. I mean, they got Sione Vaki, the running back there for Utah, got 158 yards in the day. Jaquindon Jackson got 94 yards in the day. I mean, you want to talk about, if you want to know what the team identity is for Utah, you need look no further than the play selection here. I mean, 75 total plays, 53 of them were rushing attempts. They also had 317 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns on the day. This is what Utah wants to do. This is what they want to do every single year, play into their defensive strength with that running game. Ideally, you'd have a guy like Cam Rising in there at quarterback to make the difference, as well as the running game goes. But assuming they get Cam Rising back here soon, and it seems like Cam Rising is ramping up to get back here at some point in the near future, this Utah team, another team that's right there with, USC, Oregon State in that second tier right now. Who's to say if Cam Rising comes back, they can't vault themselves into that top tier with Oregon and Washington and really make a push down the stretch here? There's legitimately like 3, 4, 5 teams that could come out here and still win the Pac-12. I mean, it is a loaded race. And like I said, it's going to be just a torrid stretch down the home stretch of this year. The Pac-12 swan song, we are about to reach a crescendo here over the next 2-3 weeks or so. Even really just going into the final 2 weeks of the year, it's going to be absolute pandemonium and mayhem. I think overall in college football, we are in for just a dandy of a late October, November stretch. We are going to be seeing some upsets here, folks. I think, what was it, Georgia? I think Georgia, especially with not having Brock Bowers in the lineup, they're probably in line for their loss. Bama might get another loss. I mean, hey, who's to say? I mean, Ohio State and Penn State are playing each other this week. One of those teams, by default, has to lose. There's no tie in college football. Fun fact there for you. We're going to get some teams at the top starting to lose and starting to fall by the wayside, and it might not be teams that you're expecting. I think we are in for a little bit of chaos down the stretch here in the season, and teams like Utah, teams like Oregon State may be the ones to come out benefiting from that chaos down the stretch. It's just a matter of who is going to survive once the bullets start flying. Tennessee got a gutsy win versus Texas A&M, 20-13. Joe Milton, I think we can probably pretty safely say he's not necessarily he's not Hendon Hooker. We'll just put it that way. He's not the greatest quarterback in the world. Got a cannon of an arm, but that's pretty much all he's got. The stars of the Tennessee team are the running game, quite frankly. I mean, Jalen Wright, I think his name is. I want to say it's Jalen. I hope I got that right. Yeah, Jalen Wright. Jabari Small led the way for Tennessee in this game. Jalen Wright in particular had 7.2 yards per carry, 136 yards on the day. As a team, Tennessee ran, 49 times out of a little over 70 plays, 71 plays in the day, 49 of them were running plays. That should tell you all you really need to know about what this Tennessee offense is this year. People think Josh Heupel, they think of what he was at UCF, what he's been so far up until this year at Tennessee. Josh Heupel's just an offensive mind here, man. They think, people think that it's just passing, air raid all day, especially with, the coaching pedigree that he comes from, the air raid being featuring very heavily in that. He's just a great offensive mind. He just does whatever the personnel he has dictates he do. And the personnel he had this year dictated that he leaned on the run game, and that's exactly what he is doing. And that's exactly what he did in this game. And it wasn't pretty. But when you got a defense like Tennessee has this year, like that, talked about that front seven earlier, really, really good front seven that they got this year. James Pierce getting a sack in this one, Tyler Barron getting a sack. Only 2 sacks, but 5 tackles for loss on the day for Tennessee. They've been playing well all year. And with this running game, and with Georgia coming out looking a little bit hobbled there with Brock Bowers no longer being in the lineup, Tennessee's got every opportunity in front of them to go out there and win the SEC East, maybe get a SEC title game appearance here. I would not be shocked at all if they come out here, get one against Get one against Georgia. I mean, it's going to be tough playing against Alabama in Tuscaloosa this year, but wouldn't be shocked if they won that one either. Alabama's not exactly blowing teams out this year. Tennessee, another team that's got everything in front of them still. I mean, Joe Milton, not exactly living up to the hype necessarily, but if the defense is as good as it has been, and the running game is as good as it has been, again, every opportunity in front of Tennessee to go out there and possibly make a push down the stretch. And, like some other teams here, pissing some wholesale Cheerios. But Tennessee is not the headline grabber after this game. As my dog comes in and decides to hang out, just sniffing around the office here. I don't know what she's doing. That's a chair. That's a suitcase. She's all sorts of curious sniffs going on with this dog. She doesn't like it when I talk loud, though, so she probably won't be here for too long. She just, sniffing around, exploring, doing what dogs do, but I digress. Texas A&M, that is who we need to focus on here right now. What's going on, dog? Jimbo Fisher, he hired Bobby Petrino. You were sold the bill of goods that the offense is going to be different this year with Bobby Petrino at the helm. It's going to be better. It's going to be much better than what it was. And what we got instead has been the exact same thing we've seen from Texas A&M year after year after year. And 7 weeks in at this point, Texas A&M 4-3. They get top 10 recruiting classes, top 5 often even, every single year. They got a defense that should be playing them into championship contention. Granted, they did lose Connor Wigman, which hurts. It hurts big time. Not having a 5-star quarterback in the lineup hurts, but it does not account for just an absolute lack of juice on the offensive side of the ball that they've had. It feels like at this time that Jimbo Fisher is a dead man walking. He is right now what we thought Neil Brown was to enter the season. And yes, $75 million is a lot of money to have on the buyout. Texas A&M forked over that big old $90 million contract a couple years ago whenever Jimbo, had his back against the wall, had wasn't even that great of a year in, expectations wise. 9-3, they signed him to a big old extension, all that, you have a great time there. But at the end of the day, $75 million, that is nothing for these Texas A&M boosters. Do you know how much money they have spent on that program to not win anything of note in the tenure of Jimbo Fisher? Hell, first and foremost, they go out and spend a big-time amount of money to go and get Jimbo Fisher in the first place, and the expectation when you spend that money is he's going to put you in national title contention year after year. That has not materialized, and at this point, I don't think there is a single way that Jimbo Fisher could save his job. I just think the hay is in the barn at this point. Maybe they don't fire Jimbo Fisher just yet, but again, dead man walking at this point. And if and when the Texas A&M job comes open, make no mistake about it. Do not be fooled by the lack of quote-unquote historical success for Texas A&M. They have literally everything you need if you are a quality head coach that can take advantage of the resources available to win a national title. Not just be in contention, to win a national title. I'm talking facilities, I'm talking funding, I'm talking everything you could possibly need to win a national title. Texas A&M has it, and they've got boosters that want to win very, very badly. This is maybe the best job in all of college football when you get right down to it. And maybe that might be a little bit of hyperbole, but if the Texas A&M job comes available, you're going to be seeing some names in there that you did not expect to be in there, quite frankly. That Texas A&M, they're going to get someone this offseason. They're going to get someone, and the next person that goes in there is going to be expected to compete for national titles. There's no more excuses after what they just went through with Jimbo Fisher. They've got everything in place you need to go out there and win. That's going to be one of the most coveted jobs in all of the land this coming offseason. That's the job to watch, quite frankly. You don't need to watch all of the head coaching wranglings in college football. Texas A&M is a big-time job, a top 5 at the very worst job in all of college football. That's going to be one to watch. I think, again, Jimbo Fisher, probably dead in the water at this point. We need to be looking towards the future. The Texas A&M hiring decision at head coach is going to affect all of college football, quite frankly. This is a job that is marquee, to say the least. So that's something to keep in mind as we go forward here. Who is going to be in position to take that job coming up? That's what we need to be asking right now. Well, really, for the future. Right now, what are they going to do towards the end of the season? I'm not sure it necessarily matters at this point. They've already lost too much. Maybe you play for pride. You go to a bowl game. That's what you would expect from them at this point. But Hayes in the barn for this season, as far as I'm concerned. It's a wash at this point. Good coffee there. Good coffee there. And we're just gonna kind of breeze through these because I think we hit the major headlines here first and foremost. Arizona, I mean, talk about a team that's playing above their steez right now. They got a true freshman in there. I think Noah Fafita is how you pronounce his name. He has absolutely been balling out. He's been playing better than Jaden DeLora. I don't know if Jaden DeLora is healthy right now, but whenever Jaden DeLora does get healthy, I still think you start Fafita going forward because he's been playing so well. They beat Washington State 44-6. Just ran them off the football field. Jed Fish is doing, I mean, one of the better coaching jobs in all of college football right now with what he's doing and has been doing so far at Arizona. I mean, this is, I still don't think people have caught on to just how quality of a team Arizona is. I didn't necessarily think they were the most quality team with how they lost to Mississippi State earlier in the year. But they have, as the season has gone on, just gotten better and better and better, improved every single week to the point where against a really quality quarterback in Cam Ward, they give up just 6 points. They score 44. They blow Washington State out of the water. Not something you would have expected. That's a team, again, Oregon State's got to play them at home next week or at Arizona next week. Don't be shocked at all if Arizona comes out there. I don't know if they'll be favored. A little quick preview into the looking glass here. I still got to look at the lines, but Arizona might be one of my bets this week. They are just playing, I mean, out of their minds right now. Really, really good program over there. And you hate to say it, just reality of college football, though. How long is Jed Fish going to be in that job if he keeps trending Arizona in the direction that they are trending? That's something, it's a question you got to ask. Question you got to ask, especially going into the Big 12. If he does this on the Big 12 stage next year, might not be there long in Arizona. Might be poached by a bigger big time job. But that is a different discussion for another time. Arizona playing very, very well right now. Auburn, not so much. They lose to LSU on the road, 48-18. Jaden Daniels, and hand up, I underestimated Jaden Daniels coming into this year. I just thought the inconsistencies were something that was going to come back and bite him. He has been the opposite. He has been more consistent than just about anyone in the entire college football landscape this year, quite frankly. I mean, he went 20 of 27, 325, 3 touchdowns on the day. Really just playing very, very good football. If LSU was a little bit better record-wise, if they were kind of in the national title hunt, I think he's right at the top of the Heisman race in that case. Unfortunately, Michael Penix is, on the team that is really in pole position to come out of the Pac-12 and represent them in the playoffs. So that is unfortunately the way things are in the Heisman race right now. But Jaden Daniels, it cannot be understated how well he is playing, and not just throwing the ball too, which is something that's been what's the word, improving markedly ever since he really was at Arizona State. Goes over to LSU, had a solid season last year, but up and down. This season, he has been money every single week. And on the ground, he's continued to be as good as he's ever been. I mean, one of the most elusive quarterbacks in all of college football, had 93 yards on the ground in this one, 400 yards of total offense. I mean, at this point, Jaden Daniels is playing so well, I wouldn't be shocked at all if he somehow found a way to go in the first round of the NFL draft. I mean, he is playing that well right now. And what does he have that you don't want in the modern NFL? He can move. He's dynamic when he moves too. He's accurate. He can push the ball down the field. He's a leader. What more do you want to see from Jayden Daniels at the pro level? I think he has really helped his draft stock, maybe more than just about any of the quarterbacks in this year's draft class. I have been just through the roof impressed with what Jayden Daniels has done this year. Just the problem is on the other side, LSU, they're not going to be facing Auburn every week. And hell, even giving up 18 points to Auburn, I don't want to be too harsh on LSU, but giving up 18 points to Auburn is like giving up 30 to a quality opponent, quite frankly. Auburn's offense has been so bad this year, just pitifully awful this year. But hey, credit where it is due, though. I cannot stress this enough. Jayden Daniels has been spectacular all year, and that's going to be an interesting matchup whenever they play Bama. When do they play Bama? That's the question I need to be asking right now. They play Bama this week, actually. No. They don't play them this week. Damn, do they have two? No. Jesus Christ. I am all over the place right now. They play Army this next week. Then they have a bye on the Halloween week, and then they play Alabama the following week after that at Alabama, so in Tuscaloosa. That'll be tough, but I would not be shocked at all if they came out there and won that game. Hell, I would not be shocked at all if they went into Alabama and won that game emphatically. Hell, if Alabama's defense can't slow down Jayden Daniels in that offense, I mean, LSU might just run away with that game and, by extension, kind of run away with the SEC West in general. I mean, after Alabama, you face Florida at home, which Florida had a quality win. I mean, beating South Carolina in Cocktober. No mean feat, my friends. No mean feat to beat South Carolina in Cocktober. On the road at that, mind you. But that's really the only good road win they've had this year. Snapped a 7-game losing streak on the road, by the way, for Florida. That's probably the biggest hurdle you got left. You face Florida, Georgia State, Texas A&M after that Alabama game. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if LSU comes out there in Bryant-Denny and just puts it on Alabama. Just don't be shocked about that at all. The SEC is still wide open, folks. It's a lower quality league this year, but that does not make it any less competitive than it has been in years past. This is going to be, not quite as entertaining as the Pac-12 because there's not as many good teams in the SEC as there is in the Pac-12, but at the top of the SEC, it should still be a torrid home stretch. Make no mistake about it. Jayden Daniels, I'm loving what I'm seeing from him so far this year. Kansas goes on the road to Oklahoma State, and they lose 39-32. Jayden Daniels, will he ever play again? Who's to say? It seems like he always has some degree of injury, no matter what. Spectacular when he's out there, but when is he ever going to be out there? Who knows? Jason Bean, solid backup quarterback if nothing else. 410 yards, 5 touchdowns. I think he just came off of a 500-yard game the week before. He's still playing really, really well. But, hey, after Oklahoma State came out of the gate looking just sorry, just god-awful, they've strung together a couple wins here in a row now. They beat a ranked Kansas team at home now. They're 4-2. Still got everything in front of them as far as their Big 12 title hopes are concerned. Alan Bowman, not a bad game in his own right here. 336, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers on the day. Sneakily, Oklahoma State's just, inching their way back in the race, especially with UCF falling by the side. It's essentially a 2-team race between Oklahoma and Texas, but, look at Oklahoma State right now. They still play Oklahoma later in the year. They've got, they're at West Virginia this next week, and then they play Cincinnati, then Oklahoma. Hey, don't be shocked. This is a game that Oklahoma cannot overlook down the stretch here, especially being a rivalry game. Don't be shocked if Oklahoma State is the one to rain on the parade for Oklahoma down the line here. That's probably the extent of their hopes for this season. But hey, pissing and Cheerios, especially with your rivalry, not the worst thing in the world. Mississippi State's been living off of that for years now, so don't be shocked. Again, I've said don't be shocked a million times in this episode. Oklahoma State really playing well now, though. They have reeled off a couple wins here after losing to South Alabama. I mean, getting smoked by South Alabama and losing to Iowa State in back-to-back weeks. Now they beat a Kansas State team and Kansas in back-to-back weeks. Ramping it back up, man. They got another tough test on the road against West Virginia this next week, but hey, Oklahoma State playing better than they have all year at this point. And Mike Gundy, just whenever he's got the back against the wall, he just comes out punching. You love to see it. You love to see it, quite frankly. What else we got? Missouri going on the road to Kentucky. Hey, maybe Kentucky wasn't quite as good as we thought they were. Ray Davis, still spectacular. 6 yards per carry in this one. 128 yards on the day. But, still not good. Not good. Missouri wins 38-21 on the road. They bounce back from that loss to LSU the previous week. Brady Cook threw another interception in this one after not having thrown an interception like 400 passing attempts before the game against LSU. But really, Missouri 6-1 at this point. Another team in the East that could come out there and make some waves down the stretch. I believe they still play. Yeah, they play Georgia. They're at Georgia, which, I mean, that's even without Brock Bowers. I don't know if they have a snowball's chance in hell of winning that one, but they still play Georgia. They still play Tennessee. They still play Florida down the stretch here. Hey, Missouri, another team that could come out here and shock some folks. Again, I reiterate for the millionth time, the SEC is as wide open as it has ever been this year. So many teams that could win it. The lack of overall quality at the top has made it very even across the board for the teams that are left in it. Missouri still somehow flying under the radar, but coming out here getting a win 38-21. 3-score win on the road at Kentucky. That is very, very impressive. That is it for the top 25, though. Let's kind of breeze through the conferences, the non-ranked matchups here. I guess I somehow glossed over Duke winning against NC State 24-3. They're just, ho-hum, chugging along here. They got the backup quarterback in there with the injury to Riley Leonard, but still win 24-3. Wasn't pretty, but they get the job done. Another team that I bet on, actually I think I bet on that on the show. So, that's win, W. You want to talk about my gambling luck right now? A little bit of a tangent here, but you want to talk about my gambling luck? Undefeated in the college slate. 0 on the NFL. I just can't get wins in both on the same week. One of them's just got to be utterly terrible. I don't know what it is, but here we are. Virginia Tech beat Wake Forest. Just a sad matchup there in that one. Virginia Tech, though, 3 wins. That's more than I thought they would have, quite frankly. Let's see, what do we got? Big 12. This was a fun one. Many people were watching Thursday Night Football. If you were smart, though, you were watching the college football. West Virginia traveled to Houston. Looked like they got a game-winning touchdown with just a couple seconds left in the game. Garrett Green hit a guy whose name absolutely escapes me for a long touchdown to get the go-ahead touchdown. I think it was 39-30-something. Math, folks, just math. With like a couple seconds left, you think West Virginia got the win there. Houston, though, gets the ball right around midfield, and what do? They just go out there, get the Hail Mary, get the win, 41-39. Just a brutal loss for West Virginia. Wild Thursday night win. Kind of wish I would have watched that over that just depressing Thursday night game between the Chiefs and the Broncos. Can't go back and get my time back, though, so there you go. There you have it. Houston getting a win. Crazy college football game there. What else is new? College football is a beautiful sport in that way. Iowa State, the Fighting Matt Campbell's over there, getting another win, 30-10. They're 4-3 now on the year. Better than people thought they would be. I'll tell you that right now. Still not great, but better than people thought they would be. TCU blew BYU out of the water, 44-11. The vacuum cleaner, Jay Hoover, what's his name? Josh Hoover, freshman, by the way. Josh Hoover over there with TCU had 4 touchdowns. I think a couple interceptions, but 439 on the day. I think he led all of college football in QBR this past week. So, TCU, their Twitter account had like the most unhinged victory video of all time. It's Gen Z humor to the max, I'll just put it that way. And I would file it under so awful it's amazing. That's pretty much the best way I can describe it. But TCU gets a big win in this one. 4-3 on the year. Still, bowl eligibility. That's what you should be looking forward to this year for TCU. You lost basically everyone off that national championship team. So long as you're getting to a bowl, I think that's a success for TCU this year, quite frankly. Kansas State bounced back in a big way, getting a 38-21 win over a disappointing Texas Tech team. I thought they would be a lot better than they are this year. Just have not lived up to expectations, quite frankly. But Kansas State goes out there, gets the win 38-21 as well. What else we got? That's the Big 12. Pac-12. Any unranked match? Oh, yes. This one, it was a late game on Friday night, so, I got, work basically every Saturday, except for this Saturday, actually. I would be able to watch a full slate of college football this Saturday, and I am fucking excited, folks. This is the first full slate of college football I'm going to be watching all year because I have to work every single Saturday, pretty much. Not working this Saturday, though, and I'm over the moon about it. I'm absolutely over the moon about it, people. But that's neither here nor there. As far as a late game goes, a lot of people, if you went to bed at halftime, Colorado was up 29-0, you thought, okay, Colorado's about to run away with this thing. You wake up in the morning, you check your phone, and all of a sudden, you're like, what the hell? Stanford won, 46-43. Stanford wins the game. What the absolute hell? That's just Colorado this year, man. Like I said before, they're not a great team, but they are a fun team, and fun teams find a way to lose games like this, unfortunately. Colorado, hats off to them. They make every game exciting in some way, shape, or form outside of that Oregon game. So, like I said, hats off to them. This is a bad, bad loss, though, man. You got to do some soul searching after this one. Shedeur Sanders, quality game. Hats off to him, I suppose. 5 touchdowns, 400 yards on the day. Tell you what, though, this kid, I put myself in a box. I don't know how to say this kid's name. Stanford wide receiver, Eric Iomenor. Alec Iomenor. I'm going to say Alec Iomenor. Did not have a catch in the first half. Comes out in the second half in overtime. Get this. 13 receptions, 294 yards, and 3 touchdowns, all coming after halftime. What a performance from the wide receiver for Stanford in this game. Ashton Daniels, the quarterback for Stanford, by the way, 396 yards and 4 touchdowns on the day. A lot of quarterbacks, a lot of offenses having good days against Colorado. Colorado's just an over machine, folks. I might have to add them to the list of bets this week. I don't know if they have a game this week, quite frankly, but if they do, I'm looking forward to betting the over once again on that one. Just a sad loss for Colorado, though. I still think they go 6-6, 7-5, but this is one where you should not be losing, quite frankly. This is one of those where you just got to take your lumps, keep moving. The noise isn't going to calm down around Deion Sanders, so they will have intrigue, if nothing else, over there. That does it for the Pac-12, though. All the other ones we already talked about because they had ranked matchups. That's just the Pac-12 this year. Absolutely loaded conference. Let's look at the SEC, though. Already kind of alluded to the one non-ranked matchup that went on for the SEC this week. Florida goes on the road and, has their best road game under Billy Napier's tenure, quite frankly. They win 41-39 over South Carolina. Just an offensive explosion. Graham Mertz, probably the best game of Graham Mertz's career against a quality opponent, that is. 423 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Just absolutely carried the team. Spencer Rattler didn't do bad in his own right. 4 touchdowns and 1 interception on the other side, but Graham Mertz and Ricky Pearsall were all over the place. Ricky Pearsall, by the way, he's a guy that's, I don't know what he clocks in at speed-wise, but he's got good football speed. He seems like a really good route runner. In the hands, my goodness, does Ricky Pearsall make some circus catches. As far as pro prospects on the Florida offense, Now, I haven't watched enough to see if any of the offensive linemen really qualify as that sort of pro prospect, but if you're talking about skill positions, Ricky Pearsall, I really like what I'm seeing from Ricky Pearsall right now as far as what could translate to the next level. Don't be shocked. This is the new phrase that I need to just get out of the vocabulary. Ricky Pearsall is a guy that I really like as far as his pro prospects are concerned. He has been really the entire receiving game so far this year, man. He has been spectacular, and I expect him to continue to be spectacular. 10 receptions, 166 yards, and a touchdown in this one. My goodness, every single week, every single episode, I have an itchy nose, and there's just nothing I can do about it. But there you go. There is your Week 7 slate wrapped up. Let's go to next week's slate, shall we? Starting off with the marquee matchup at noon, which I will be able to watch this time because I don't have work, and I'm so goddamn excited about it. Penn State, number 7 team in the country, facing off against the number 3 team in the country, Ohio State, on the road in Ohio Stadium. One of many big-time matchups that you're going to see this season in the Big Ten East. This is not for all the marbles, but this is the first big-time test for both of these teams. Penn State, big-time road test. Ohio State, just big-time test in general to test both of these teams' metals. This is going to be a dandy of a football game. OSU currently favored at Caesars at -4.5. Again, holding off on the bets right now just because I don't know exactly what we're dealing with here as far as spreads are concerned, where to get the best number, yada, 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 all that sort of stuff. I would probably lean Ohio State on the -4.5, but hell, I'm probably staying away from that one because Penn State might come out here and win it. They've got a defense of their own. What I'm really looking at is that over-under 46.5. I would lean the under on that more than anything else. I think this could be a low-scoring football team. Two great defenses facing off in Columbus this week. Noon game, got to have a big matchup at noon. I assume every college football show is showing up at this game. This is going to be a dandy, folks, and it's coming right out of the gates for you. Can't wait for that one. UCF is facing off against Oklahoma. I think a kind of a sneaky game for Oklahoma. UCF has not played well this year. They've had health issues at quarterback with John Rice Plumlee not being in there consistently, but still with Gus Malzahn, this would be a spot where Gus Malzahn comes out there and wins a game that you don't expect him to. Just classic Gus Bus material here. He loses the games you expect him to win, wins the games you expect him to lose, or at the very least keeps them close. Don't be shocked at all. I said it again. Would not be shocked even in the least if UCF comes out here and makes it a game with Oklahoma, maybe even steals one on the road in this one. Also wouldn't be shocked if Oklahoma came out here and won by 40, though. As such, going to stay away from this one. 65 on the over-under, though. That one, you may see that again on the bet segment on Thursday. That's a juicy little line right there for two teams that can score some points. And at the very least with UCF, a defense that can't stop a nosebleed, quite frankly. Wouldn't be shocked if Oklahoma covered that all on their own with how bad UCF's defense is this year. We move on, though. Hey, did you know Air Force is ranked? They're 22 in the nation right now, 6-0 right now. Hey, shout out to the boys in blue right now. I'm not talking about the police. I'm talking about the Air Force. Still guys that are serving our country, though, so salute to you. Yes, I saluted with the left hand because I'm a bad American, but there you go. I got a coffee mug in my right hand. I can't salute with a coffee mug in my hand. It's just not really happening right there. But I digress on that front. Air Force is playing at Navy this week. Air Force favored -11.5 right now. And be honest, I don't know a damn thing about either of those teams other than their service academies, so they probably run a lot. Other than that, there you go. Quick sip here. That was not a sip. That was a gulp. I just downed the last of my coffee there. That's just good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. In the Pac-12, Washington State taking on Oregon. Number 9, Oregon, that is. They're favored by 20. I'm probably staying away from this one ultimately just because, really on all fronts. The over-under is 61, which seems on the surface like a juicy line, but we just saw Arizona hold Washington State to 6 points. Cam Ward is a very good quarterback. but I am here to tell you that Oregon's defense is better than Arizona's defense. That's bottom line right there, so staying away from that on all fronts. Should be a game for Oregon that they should win with ease, but coming off a big game on the road against Washington could be a possible letdown spot, but also could be a spot where they come out here and just scorched earth, just grind Washington State to dust. We'll have to find out on Saturday. Another 3:30 time slot game. The third Saturday in October. It's here once again, and Tennessee is on the road this year at Alabama. Number 17 Tennessee facing number 11 Alabama. Alabama favored by 9.5. And that's man, it feels like the line makers want me to bet Tennessee so bad, and I might just be enough of a sucker to bet it. Staying away from it right now. Might come back later because I cannot stress this enough. I am a sucker. I am an absolute sucker. There's no two ways about it. But that could be a dandy of a matchup. 47.5. I lean the under on the total there, quite frankly. This could be an absolute rock fight. Just a rock fight of all rock fights. It was 20-13 for Tennessee and A&M last week. Could be a similar final score in this one. The under might be the play if you're looking to bet on this one. South Carolina is traveling to number 20 Missouri. Hey, look at Missouri back in the top 25. Minus 7.5 though. That's a ratty line right there. That is a ratty line. I wouldn't, I could see South Carolina coming out here and covering that one, if only by a half a point here. That's if I am going to play it, I'm going to wait for Missouri to have a minus 7 or a minus 6.5 to jump in on that one. Probably won't look at that one though too seriously. Over/unders 59.5. I don't have a great lean on that one either. I think South Carolina's a little bit too inconsistent offensively for me to go wholeheartedly on the over or the under in that one. So staying away. Tulane back in the rankings as well. They're 5-1, 23 now, facing off against North Texas. Call me a bad football fan, but I don't really know a whole lot about Tulane this year outside of Michael Pratt. So they're favored by 20. Take that for what you will. Either way, I got no lean either way. Oh man, Big Ten West football. Minnesota facing off against number 24 Iowa. I'll take a guess at what the over/under is right now. You just don't look it up, no cheating right now, but just take a guess what the over/under line is set at for this game. I'll give you a second. Got your guesses? Here's some 35s out there. Here's some 37s. Nope, 32.5 is the over/under in this game. And honestly, the way both of these teams play, I wouldn't be shocked at all if they hit the under. I mean, 32.5 still might be too many points for Iowa and Minnesota. Quite frankly, Iowa's favored by 4. I probably lean Iowa on that one, but man, this just sad football. This team's probably going to go to the Big Ten championship game. Just crazy that the divisions are structured the way they are. Probably a good thing that it's no longer going to be the way that they decide champions after this year. Though, if they just stuck with East and West, if you put all the Pac-12 teams that are coming in the West, probably ends up canceling out, quite frankly. I mean, you got what? Washington and Oregon coming in, USC, UCLA. You put all those teams in the West, bump a team or two over to the East to even it out. Not bad. A little bit more balanced, but yeah, probably for the best of the divisional structure is going away after the season. That's a hilarious line. That is a hilarious over/under right there, but I digress. Texas going on the road to Houston. They're favored by 23. Probably lean Texas on that one. I don't think they had a game last week. They're probably coming off pissed off about that Oklahoma game, and Houston is going to be the sacrifice to the gods on that one. I think it's going to be a long day for Houston in that one. A long day, to say the least. 61.5 on the over/under. Frankly, I don't think Houston's going to score enough points to cover that, so I think I'll probably lean the under. Staying away from that betting-wise, though. North Carolina facing off against Virginia. Virginia is a bad football team. But this could be a possible letdown spot for North Carolina. I don't think North Carolina is going to lose this game, but minus 23.5, Virginia could conceivably cover that and keep it closer than you may expect in this game. Just because, North Carolina coming off a big win. They're in contention now. Maybe a bit of a letdown spot here. Watch out for that with North Carolina. I think they probably take care of business, though, and get the win, if not the cover. Staying away from that in all likelihood, though. Over-under is 56, though. And hey, do with that what you will. North Carolina may be able to cover that by themselves. I don't see Virginia helping out a whole lot. I'll put it that way. Ole Miss on the road at Auburn this week. Ole Miss favored by 6.5. I've got no great feel on this game whatsoever, quite frankly. I could see a world where Auburn comes out there and wins the game, quite frankly. I could also see a world where Ole Miss goes on the road and beats Auburn by 40. No idea what this game has in store, so probably stay away from that 6.5 number. 56.5 on the over-under. I bet the over for Auburn at your own risk. I don't think that offense is any good this year. And Ole Miss's defense isn't, just giant killers or anything like that. But I think they're probably good enough to rein in Auburn this week. I'll put it that way. No great lean on either of those lines, quite frankly. So we'll keep it moving. Michigan's facing off against Michigan State, minus 24.5. There's a good chance you see that on my bet slip coming at the end of the week here. Michigan's just been a buzzsaw, absolutely unstoppable force of nature this year. I don't expect that to stop this week. They've 6-0 or 7-0 against the spread this year. Might be 8-0 after this coming week. I would not be. How many times have I said would not be shocked? It's got to be over a dozen. It's got to be close to 2 dozen in this episode alone. Crazy numbers I'm putting up there. Over-under's 48. I may even take the under. I don't know if Michigan State's going to score a point in this game. If they do, it's maybe a touchdown, maybe a field goal. I have a hard time seeing them score in double digits, quite frankly, in this game. I expect Michigan to handle business and handle business emphatically. Sneaky big matchup over there in the ACC. Florida State is hosting number 16 Duke this week. That's the number 16 team versus the number 4 team. Florida State is favored by 14 right now, and I just think that line is wrong. I think there's a good chance that I take Duke for a bet this week. I'm going to, pick out what the best line is, but I think I'm probably going to end up playing it. Minus 14 is just entirely too many points for Duke right now. Yes, they're probably playing a backup quarterback, but man, Duke is playing entirely too well to just let that line slide, and maybe it's just Vegas thinking I'm a sucker, but again, I am a sucker, so there's a good chance I take this line. Over-under is 49. I don't have a great read on that one. I'm not sure. I'm probably going to stay away from that one just because I don't really know. Florida State's got some good offensive pieces, but overall, is Duke going to score enough points? Is Duke going to make it a rock fight? I don't know. I simply don't know. So we'll just leave that there. The line, though, I love that line for Duke. You're probably going to see that on the pick segment at the end of the week. LSU is hosting Army, minus 30. They're favored by. Shout out to the armed forces here. Shout out to the boys that serve our country. As I stammer there, that should tell you how I feel about this game. I think LSU is probably going to win by a lot. I think there's a good chance Jaden Daniels goes for like over 400, 4 or 5 touchdowns, just absolutely obliterates them. I'm probably not going to bet this line because LSU's defense is too bad to trust, but boy, this could be pain. This could be pain for the boys serving our country here, to say the least. We got a ranked matchup in the Pac-12, folks. USC dropped all the way down to 18. They are hosting Utah this week. Will Cam Rising be back this week? It's been an ongoing question every single week, really throughout the course of the season. Cam Rising was there last week. I think he might have even dressed for the game last week. Did not play at all. It would not be shocked. I did it again, folks. Don't be surprised if Cam Rising comes out here and makes his season debut in this game. Historically, USC has been the team that Cam Rising loves to play the most in his college career. He always has a big game against USC. And like with the defense with USC, that's a very favorable spot to come back in. Very favorable spot to say the least. So watch for Cam Rising to maybe make a season debut. USC favored by 7. Staying away from the line because I had so much uncertainty for Utah at the quarterback position. That USC could cover and just win by 10 points, and that would be, that would make a lot of sense in this one, especially if Cam Rising isn't playing. I'm guessing with the line right now that they're not expecting Cam Rising to play, so monitor that as the week goes on. Over under 56, that's another bet you might see at the end of the week in this pick segment. USC's defense is so bad everyone can score. Every single team can score on this defense, and USC's offense is going to do what it's going to do. Utah's defense is quite solid, credit where it is due, but I mean, when he got the presumed number 1 overall pick coming off the worst game of his career, I would expect carnage on that offense. I mean, scorched earth for that USC offense going up against this Utah defense. That should be a dandy of a matchup. Always is a dandy of a matchup between Utah and USC whenever they face off against each other. Arizona State, probably the worst team in the Pac-12 right now. They face off against the hottest team in the Pac-12, the Washington Huskies. Minus 28 is Washington in this one. And usually, this is a spot where I would hop on Washington and ride that minus 28 into the sunset. I just think I'm too worried about the possible letdown spot after a big week over Oregon, big win over Oregon last week. So staying away from that. Over under 59, staying away from that too. I just don't trust Arizona State to score enough points. Gosh damn it, my nose continues to itch like a son of a bitch. UCLA going on the road to Stanford. They're favored by 17. I don't have a great read. I mean, freshman quarterback on the road, staying away. Poison, as they say on the punt team when there's a ball that's just bad out there. So yeah, staying away from that one. Over under 55, staying away from that one as well. There is your top 25 matchups this week. Also, Mississippi State playing against Arkansas this week, and I'll lay it out to you this way. We have got 2 games coming up. Arkansas this week, Auburn the following week, both on the road. If Mississippi State wants to be bowl eligible, they're going to have to win both of those because they ain't winning on the road at Texas A&M. They are not going to win the Egg Bowl this year. I assure you of that. The Egg Bowl is going to be painful for Mississippi State this year, folks. I mean, Jackson Dart might have 5 touchdowns and put up 50 points on us. And it's Lane Kiffin too, so he might try to go for 60. It's not going to be fun this year, but yeah, moral of that story is if Mississippi State wants to be bowl eligible, there's a game against Southern Miss late in the year that they should win. Got to win these next 2 games on the road versus Arkansas and Auburn. If they want to be bowl eligible, it's not going to happen any other way in all likelihood. So that's what we got right now. That's, call it bias. We, got to preview my boys though. And with that, we are done, folks. We have finished up the Week 8 preview. Looking forward to all that. I will, get back to you with what I'm feeling on the bets. I got to look at the slate. Got to scroll through the slate, see what I like, and place my bets accordingly. But that's all, folks. Thanks for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. If you enjoyed, just go ahead, subscribe, like, share, all that stuff to help me grow this thing a little bit. Are you doing it? Probably not, but who cares? Got to say it either way. Like the video, subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all those places. Just go out there. Do what you got to do. In the meantime, I'm going to be here just saying the same things over and over again. What else we got? Yeah, Twitter, Caleb Verzak. Link is in the description so you don't have to spell my name. Did it for you, did the hard work, so you can just go out there, click the link, hit follow for all my dumb opinions on things and stuff and that variety of stuff and things. Do that make sense? Probably not, but we'll just keep it moving from there. If you want to contact the show, either shoot me a DM on Twitter, which I'll probably be more responsive with, or go to the email unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. That'll be in the description as well, so you don't got to spell all that out. Outside of that, thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got next to no clue what I am talking about. I got all this stuff going on in my phone. Probably should have pulled this up beforehand so I didn't have to just awkwardly be here, waiting for this thing to pull up. But there we go. All right, what I learned this week here, folks. Dogs are the very first animals that humans domesticated. Did not know that. Thought there might have been, pack animals and whatnot, livestock. But no, dogs, very first animals that humans domesticated. So, fun fact. Y'all have a good week. See you Thursday for the NFL. A lot of stuff happened in the NFL this week, man. It is going to be a dandy of an episode. So, stay tuned for that later in the week. Until then, I'm going to go try and edit this and get it all uploaded or starting to upload before the Monday night game. See you, folks.